Greetings, I'm Denise, and I'm 34 years old. I made a significant mistake by marrying someone with more challenges than I could have imagined. I believed love could conquer all, thinking I could help him recognize his self-worth. Unfortunately, I was mistaken. While love is powerful, it can't instill self-love in someone. Let's refer to my ex as Jacob. He had a strong desire to please his parents that went beyond the typical need for approval. It seemed like he believed his entire value as a person relied on his parents' validation. Now, regarding his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Gold, let's keep their identities private. They exemplified neglectful parenting. Seldom showing interest in their son's welfare, they left him always longing for their attention and acceptance. Unfortunately, I couldn't replace the emptiness his parents caused. To add to the difficulty, Jacob spent our earned money on fancy presents, extravagant trips, and unnecessary things, all under the influence of his parents. Our savings were slipping away, ending up in the Gold hands. His habit of handling money carelessly created a big problem for us. We had constant arguments about his careless spending and his struggle to focus on our future. It seemed like I was always fighting against the influence of his parents, and it was affecting our marriage. Despite all the chaos, my feelings for Jacob never wavered. I wished for him to liberate himself from his parents' expectations and discover happiness on his own. Unfortunately, my love alone couldn't rescue him from their harmful influence. Get ready, because this roller coaster of a story is about to become even more intense. One day, Jacob approached me with a serious expression, indicating he had something crucial to discuss. Though I'm accustomed to his playful behavior, little did I realize that this conversation would lead to our most significant disagreement. "Denise, there's something important I need to talk to you about," he stated. "Sure, what is it? You're aware my parents are retiring, aren't you?" "Well, I want to give them a surprise luxury trip. It's going to be quite costly. That's fine, as long as you're using your own money. I can't handle another argument about our savings." "I can't manage it on my own. I have to dip into our savings for this journey." I suggested to Jacob, "If it's beyond your financial means, perhaps it's not the best decision to splurge so much." He responded sharply, "You're not getting it, Denise. I cherish my parents, and I'm willing to go the extra mile for them." I countered, "Love isn't about extravagant spending. It's about being there for each other, providing support." Jacob insisted, "But this trip means a lot to them. I want to bring them joy and ensure our financial stability." I cautioned, "Using all our savings for a trip isn't responsible. You need to understand. This is something I really want to do. I wish to give my parents everything." "Jacob, we can express love and help without risking our financial stability. Let's discover a sensible solution." "But I thought you'd get it. They are incredibly important to me, and so are you. We can't overlook the need for practicality. It's crucial to strike a balance. You're simply thinking of yourself. I'm surprised you won't back me up on this." "It's not selfishness, Jacob. It's about being responsible and preparing for what lies ahead." "What's the estimated cost, by the way?" "I require the full amount." I was astonished. I couldn't believe my ears. This person boldly suggested using all our savings as if it was no big deal. It felt like they had gone a bit crazy, risking our hard-earned money. "Jacob, are you for real?" "Denise, I didn't think you'd be so indifferent. Money doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Why are you acting like it's not a serious matter?" "Well, I had intended to retrieve the money," he mentioned casually. "Oh, $100,000? Well, that's all right, no issue," I responded in a mocking tone. "Actually, Jacob, not at all. I was just being sarcastic. It's too significant and I won't permit it. Quit treating me like a kid," I informed him. "Then quit behaving like one," he fired back. "I thought you would support me through thick and thin," I expressed. "I do, but not if it jeopardizes our financial stability. Let's carefully consider this," he countered. The disagreement intensified, voices got louder, and a couple of things flew and broke. Suddenly, unexpectedly, Jacob dropped a bombshell. "If you can't back me on this, I'm considering a divorce." He might have thought I'd plead with him to stick around and salvage our falling apart marriage, but this time I didn't take the bait. Instead, I stayed cool and collected. "Sure, Jacob, if that's truly your decision," I replied. The surprise on his face was truly priceless. He expected crying and begging, but what he got was me firmly holding my position. I was finished pampering and supporting him. If he wanted to use up his resources recklessly, that was his choice. I didn't hold anything back. I clearly expressed my thoughts. I let him know it was about time to understand that his efforts to gain his parents' approval were like trying to use an umbrella in a hurricane. Pointless. He attempted to argue, but I stopped him with a simple gesture, lifting my hand to signal, "Wait a moment, friend." I expressed my fatigue, explaining that I was worn out from striving for affection built on impractical expectations. I had reached a point where the pressure of expectations and the constant desire for approval became too much. Trying to impress people who didn't really care by spending money? That wasn't my style anymore. Living in a cycle of letdowns and unfulfilled promises had worn me out. The reality hit me strongly when I recognized that our marriage had turned into a constant struggle. It was time to surrender and part ways. 3 months after finalizing the papers that officially ended my tumultuous marriage with Jacob, I experienced an exhilarating feeling of freedom and relief. No more ongoing conflicts about finances or the need for approval from his parents. Finally, I could take a breath without the burden of his insecurities holding me back. Each day seemed to bring a brighter outlook on life. Jacob attempted to re-enter my life, pretending to care, but I could see that he wasn't genuine. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Well, you know how the saying goes. I didn't pay attention to his efforts to revive any bond. I had gained wisdom from my past experiences, no more trying to mend someone who had no interest in being fixed. It was time to prioritize myself, my development, and my joy. Getting back on track was a challenge. Sorting out belongings and adapting to a different financial situation required time and hard work. Although I was accustomed to a specific way of life, putting in effort was familiar. I welcomed the task of reconstructing my life as an individual. I found my inner strength and independence, reconnecting with old friends, diving into neglected hobbies, and discovering new passions. The entire world seemed full of possibilities, and I was eager to enjoy every bit of my newfound freedom. Of course, there were times when I felt uncertain and lonely, and adjusting to the changed financial circumstances proved to be a test. The wounds from a past marriage don't just disappear suddenly. However, as time went by, I discovered comfort in the realization that I was no longer sacrificing my joy for someone else's fears. The fact that I could swiftly embrace a new chapter indicated that I was heading in the right direction. I had been dealing with a challenging situation for quite some time. Surprisingly, I realized the potential for personal growth once I let go of that burden. 3 months later, still adjusting but thriving, Jacob continued to send me messages persistently. However, this time was different. He adopted a more urgent tone, claiming he was in danger and needed to meet with me urgently. Feeling exhausted by his constant communication, I decided to bring it to an end. During one of his text rants, I called him and firmly expressed, "Jacob, I've already made it clear that I don't want to hear it. We're divorced, and it's time for both of us to move forward." "Denise, please, let me explain. I'm in real trouble and don't know who else to turn to. I really need your help," begged Jacob. Despite my hesitation, I gave in, saying, "Okay, but I'm not letting you into my house. Let's meet at the cafe we used to visit. No funny business." "Thank you, Denise. I just need someone to talk to. I'm desperate, and you're the only one who truly understands me," he responded. Maybe it was because I hadn't heard his voice in a while or that he genuinely sounded scared, but I agreed. "All right, but don't expect more than that." When I decided to do this, I anticipated my friends would have doubts. I pondered the same thing. Why did I choose to meet Jacob despite our shared history? Every now and then, even the toughest among us experience moments of vulnerability, and my curiosity, coupled with a lasting sense of concern, overcame me. Getting divorced didn't mean I stopped caring about him. So we ended up sitting across from each other at that well-known cafe. The air was rich with the tempting smell of just-made coffee, yet it couldn't hide the noticeable tension in the room. It was like entering an emotional battleground. Looking at Jacob's face, you could see anxiety written all over his features. It was almost funny how he attempted to express his unease through those pleading, nosy dog eyes. I wasn't going to be fooled again. I reclined in my chair, aiming to appear in charge. I was set on guiding this talk according to my rules. "Okay, Jacob, you've caught my focus. What's this trouble you've come across? And just so we're on the same page, I'm not keen on being your rescuer anymore. I've had my fill of fixing your problems." Jacob released a deep sigh, his expression a blend of remorse and urgency. It was almost sad to see, but I told myself not to be influenced by his dramatics. "Denise, I admit I messed up before, but this situation is unique. I've ended up involved with some seriously risky individuals. I owe them a lot of money and they're not the forgiving type." I raised an eyebrow, skeptical of his story. "Dangerous people, Jacob? Are you referring to those imaginary friends of yours once more? You've always had a way of getting into trouble, haven't you?" Jacob's eyes widened, a blend of pain and frustration crossing his face. It was evident he anticipated a different reaction from me. Yet after all we'd experienced, I had become weary of always being the one to mend things for him. "No, Denise, I'm not fabricating this. Did you believe I desired this situation? Appearing before you, seeking assistance with my pride a bit wounded? All right, take a guess. You found the divorce challenging, and financial support became necessary for you. Not exactly. Recall the journey I mentioned earlier? Oh goodness, please don't say you took a loan for a trip. The cafe patrons turned their attention to me as my voice elevated. I sent an apologetic glance, attempting to regain my composure. Denise, hey, I messed up and got into something I shouldn't have. I realize it now, and I'm facing the consequences. I really need your help to find a way out of this situation. My frustration was building up, about to overflow. How could he re-enter my life with another one of his self-made disasters? Despite my anger, a small part of me felt sympathy, acknowledging that he's still human, even with his flaws. How much do you owe, Jacob? $80,000? Are you serious? The cafe patrons stared at me disapprovingly, but this time it was different. I didn't bother apologizing. If they knew what I heard, they'd scream as well. Denise, I'm really in a tough spot and I don't have anywhere else to go. I realize I messed up, but I still value you. You were the one who genuinely believed in me. I could see the honesty in his eyes, a hint of the man I used to love. However, it was insufficient, arriving too late. I needed to safeguard myself even if it meant walking away from him. Hey Jacob, please don't do this. Don't try to pull me in. It's too late for that at this point. I was expecting you to suggest something like $8,000. Maybe. But $80,000? Are you out of your mind? Jacob started crying loudly, not minding the other people around. Jacob, now is not the right time or place for this. Practically, what's going to happen if you can't repay them? They might harm my legs, Denise. Oh, that sounds really bad. This is no joke, Denise. I'm facing some big problems. I understand, Jacob, I do. How about you tell me the whole story again from the start? Jacob shared his sad story, admitting how he got the money to support his parents' fancy vacation. He clarified that a friend had pledged to loan him the money, but that friend had let him down, landing him in this substantial debt. As he shared the information, a blend of irritation and amusement overwhelmed me. I couldn't resist releasing a cynical chuckle, understanding the complicated situation Jacob had created. Okay, let me make sure I understand. You accepted money from these risky individuals just to make your parents happy, and they haven't even acknowledged or shown any gratitude for the extravagant journey you paid for. Is that what you're saying? Jacob's face turned gloomy, tears rolling down his cheeks. The consequences of his choices were starting to hit him, and with a regretful tone, he shook his head. You know, Denise, it's a fact. My folks haven't bothered to contact me ever since they started their big journey. It's as if I'm not even on their radar. I couldn't help but sympathize with the guy. Quite a tough situation, don't you think? It felt like a bit of karma watching Jacob confront the consequences of his decisions. But I couldn't take pleasure in it, not when this man was quietly crying in front of me. I get it might be tough to hear, Jacob, but where you are now is because of the decisions you made. I cautioned you that it might not be the best route, and here you are feeling uncertain. You wanted their approval, spent your savings to fulfill their wishes, and they haven't recognized your effort. It stings, but it's a challenging lesson that was necessary for you to understand. It was a tough moment for both of us. You relied on others who didn't value your hard work, and I had to understand that I couldn't save you from your mistakes anymore. I wished that going through challenges would help you see that I was always there for you. Allowing yourself to be controlled by your parents caused your downfall. As the truth hit me, the cafe hushed into stillness, burdened by our shared past, unkept vows, and dreams that fell apart. It was time to part ways permanently, with no room for second chances. Consequences awaited you, and I needed to carve my own route to joy. I wish you discover an escape from this chaos. Sorry, Jacob, I can't assist you. I lack the funds, and taking a loan would be a lifelong wait. I'm not as daring as you, I replied to his request. Denise, please, I'm pleading with you, he begged. It's like you thought I'd always be there to assist you. Back when we were married, I did pitch in, but that's not my job now. I don't have any obligations to you. Considering everything I went through, spending our money on your unappreciative parents, I can't continue doing that. I care about them, Denise, and I care about myself, so I need to prioritize what's right for me, which includes looking out for myself. Jacob lowered his head, acknowledging his surrender. Recognizing that I wouldn't offer assistance, he appeared frustrated, almost sulking. I suggested a different approach. Consider leaving the country, pack your things, and relocate to a place where they won't be able to locate you. If that's not possible, I'm not sure what else I can do to assist you. A quiet moment ensued as Jacob thought things over. Perhaps it's best for us to go our separate ways. I can't keep getting entangled in the turbulence of your life. We both should have an opportunity to find peace. Jacob, I hope things go well for you. If you truly want the best for me, please understand and respect the choice I'm making. Farewell, Jacob. I'm changing my phone number, I announced, standing up and leaving him with a mix of feelings on his face. It's a difficult but important move towards regaining my joy and identity.